That's not passive aggressive, is it?
Oh, she's ready.
Oh, well, then cancel. And all right, joining us right now. Maybe enjoying a bit of a break, which of course I'm sure I guarantee you when we bring her on, there is no break, because she will have saved up 900 things to do during this break from at least calling the Kings. She's probably doing her taxes. She's probably refinishing an antique cabinet and designing new dog food for 2025 for her dogs. But we'll find out. The one and only Kayte Christensen joins us. Good morning, Kayte.
Good morning.
Any of that true?
You're close. You're close on some stuff. Taxes have been on my mind, but that will come later after Christmas. But you're right. I have not had much of a break the last few days.
Just catching up.
Oh my goodness. It's Christmas. So Christmas shopping, finishing decorating, 50 million errands. Yeah. It's just so many things on my list that I'm disappointed with how little I feel like I got done.
When was the last time, Kayte, you just had a day where you did nothing?
It's this summer. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Really? That's like one of our oldest fights we used to have, because Kayte is incapable. She's literally incapable. Like a day where you wake up, you wear your PJs till 11, you sit around with a bowl of cereal, binge watch some stupid show. I mean, she'll binge watch some stupid shows, but binge watch a bunch of stupid shows and then sit around, play a video game. There's always something that, I gotta make the dog food. The cabinets.
I'm a doer, Dave. Let's move on. I'm a doer. Yes, I'm a doer.
See, that's what I'm saying. So she's not even in the summertime. We don't lie on this program, Kayte. You never, ever, ever, ever take a break. The Kings are taking a break though. And the Athletic came out today with their grades, and they gave the Kings a D. We were talking about it earlier and saying, I think a lot of that has to do with expectations. Do you think that's fair, unfair?
I think it's unfair just because of the reality. I mean, and every team has kind of suffered their own rash of injuries. Like, we're about to play New Orleans, and they have just been obliterated. So, I think that there's games definitely that they should have won, obviously, and there's disappointments and things like that. But you can't look at it without looking at details too. So expectations, were extremely high. And that's a good thing. To me, it's a good thing for expectations to be high. But, you have to play the games in front of you with the players that you have available. And so there's been, some guys missing that have been really important, critical. I mean, look, Domas played every single game last year. He missed 2 games already. DeMar played, I think, all but 3 games, but maybe 3 games last year in Chicago, and he's already missed 5. And Malik missed 7. Kevin's missed 3. Trey Lyles is injured again with his calf. There's been a lot of key players that have been hurt, and you look at playing without DeMar and Domas in that back-to-back series. Starting with Minnesota and then with the Jazz back in the middle of November when De'Aaron had 62 and then 49, or it was 62. Yeah. And I would say they surpassed expectations given those circumstances and almost beat Minnesota in overtime. So there's things like that where it's like you kind of have to look at it in its totality. You can't just look at it from a record standpoint. And no offense, the Athletic, these aren't people that cover the Kings every single day either, or watch every single game. So you just kind of got to put it in perspective. It's not been the start, I think, that everybody wanted to see.
And more recently, though, Kayte, it feels like that grade could be moving up or better, improving because of the last 5 games since Malik Monk went in the lineup. Just statistically, that starting 5 is doing something no one else in the league is doing. Again, small sample size, but that's really good. The record's been okay with that too. What's been the greatest impact that Monk has had or to that group as a starter now?
Well, he's shooting the ball really well, which is great because up until the other game, the Kings really hadn't had a great shooting game. And then to see Doug McDermott come in and do what he did and Kevin Huerter to shoot the ball like he did. And the game before, I mean, I think Malik Monk was like 4 of 5 from 3, and everyone else was like, like in the teens percentage wise. It was just like De'Aaron couldn't make a 3. You go down, Kevin was like 0 of 5, I think. Keegan was like, 0 for, and it was brutal in that sense. So I think Malik has added scoring and shooting, but to me, the biggest difference has been his playmaking, and watching Mike Brown and Jay Triano kind of adjust the offense has been interesting to me, because you have to adjust it, because even though those guys played together, a lot of the minutes prior to Malik being in the starting lineup that they played together were really like maybe the last 6 or 7 minutes of the game, the closing minutes. So to have him in with that group for large chunks of minutes, you're seeing De'Aaron off the ball a little bit more. You're seeing Malik and Domas going to a traditional pick and roll game, which the Kings have not been a traditional pick and roll team. They've been a heavy, dribble handoff team. And so it's taken some pressure off of Domas, off of De'Aaron in that sense, and it's switching some things up. But you're right, like going into that game the other night, that starting 5 averaging 99.8 points per game, leading the NBA and starting, scoring. And we've talked so much about the second unit and struggling, and they have, and the Kings need them to be better. And you go back a couple of years ago when they ended the playoff drought, that second unit was one of the best scoring units in the league. Well, when your starting 5 is averaging almost 100 points a game, and then your second unit is averaging 26, if you can't win a basketball game in the NBA with 126 points, then something else is wrong. So it's more to me about kind of their defensive lapses and inability to defend the 3-point line well this season. That has been the culprit for a lot of those things.
So that's kind of like what we were talking about, Katie, yesterday, I think, is maybe the most frustrating thing about this team is if they make their threes at an even NBA average rate, the average, they probably have 5 more
Which
wins.
is like, what, 35% around there?
Yeah. I think around 34, 35. They have at least 4, probably 5 or 6 more wins, and we're having a whole different conversation. And they also lead the league in open 3-point attempts, or at least did as of a week ago. So they're getting open looks, and they're shooting atrociously. So how the hell do you scheme? Do you coach? Do you practice when really Mike Brown could sit the whole team down and be like, guys, make your threes. Okay. Because how do you coach that?
I think the biggest challenge coaching that is realizing that it's not what you're doing, what you're running, that is the problem. It's just that they haven't been making shots. And the challenge from a coaching perspective in that is to not, overreact and try to change things, but more to work from the emotional and mental standpoint of instilling confidence in your players. And be like, hey, I don't care if you miss 10 of them. They're wide open shots. Those are the ones you take. That's the mentality that Mike Brown has, and you have to have, because at the end of the day, egos and kind of the mental side of things are the most important and the most fragile things to deal with in the NBA, and I'm sure it's the same in other sports, but I think probably more so in the NBA. I don't think it's the same in the NFL. Like, oh, you dropped 5 catches, it's fine. You'll whatever, but it's not the same as when you go, 0 for 11 from downtown in one single game. You know what I mean? So the mental and emotional kind of support and trying to keep that at a high level and instill confidence, that's the biggest challenge for Mike Brown right now.
The other part seems to be, besides shooting, kind of the season-long thing, Katie, has been the bench. It's been a little better, obviously, lately, but moving Monk from the starters changes that dynamic a little. We're seeing Huerter play better, but it's not been consistent by any means. What can he do? What can the rest of that group do to try to get that second unit more consistent?
I think it comes with figuring out rotations and trying to have, Domas, DeMar, Malik or De'Aaron, maybe two of those guys at any given moment in with that second unit, so that there's some scoring there, but also even just their ability to create space for other guys to get shots because of the attention that they draw on defense. So, what have we had, like 8 different starting lineups already this year, a quarter of the way through the season? That's astronomically high for the Kings. So when you look at it in the perspective of all the different rotations, I mean, Isaac Jones has been getting massive minutes, and this is a guy that we didn't really expect to see much this year, and it's purely because of, injuries. So I think that given that, like, there's been guys on the bench that have overperformed, which is a great thing. And I try to look at it from the perspective of this is going to help them in, March and April. The things that they're going through right now and the experience and the confidence that is building in some guys that really probably weren't meant to factor in a large way, that's going to help down the stretch. I think that Kevin Huerter is getting more kind of accustomed and learning his role in that second unit and where he can get his shots and how he can be impactful on both ends of the floor. So I think it's just a matter, Jason, of, kind of readjusting, learning, getting comfortable with kind of how things are shifting and changing and figuring out where you can be kind of your most impactful.
That's Kayte Christensen, analyst for your Sacramento Kings, as you're getting ready to leave from New Orleans tomorrow, right?
Today. The game is
today.
tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. God, it is. Yeah, duh. I'm all over the place. That's a revenge game, Kayte. So make sure the guys are fired up, because if we lose to the Pelicans tomorrow, I don't think I can mentally handle it.
It has not been good against New Orleans the last couple of years. You're right. So I'm hoping this is a good one. They obviously are dealing with a ton of injuries as well. So, and have not played well this season. So I'm just hoping that the momentum can keep carrying that we've seen here the last few games.
All right. Thanks for joining us. Fly safe. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, guys.
Thank you.
All right. That's Kayte Christensen. We will take a break. When we come back, UC Davis, not just winning football games.